And when we do this, when we are forced into God's standards as his partner, you become precise in every single thing. The way you walk, the way you talk, the clothes you wear, the food that you eat, the people that you spend time around, things that come out of your mouth. Every single part of your life becomes precisely fine-tuned to the will of God. And that is all driven by the fear of God. Right? Isaiah chapter 11, verse 3 says Jesus delighted in the fear of God. He delighted in the fear of God. Right? He delighted in the fear of God because he knew that fear would protect him from turning his head to the right or to the left. He knew that it would ensure that he would carry out his calling to perfection. And this is going to get interesting here. So the last example I'm going to use, I wasn't even going to talk about this, but Holy Spirit dropped this on my head last night, and I had to figure out a way to include this in this message. So we're going to talk about Moses one more time. So I think we can all agree that Moses was generally called to be the deliverer of Israel, right? We can all say, yeah, that was Moses' main call. Moses actually had a higher calling than delivering Israel. And he carried something. That's because he carried something that no one else in the Bible carried, except for Jesus. And that is, he carried the name of God. Let me show you what I mean. So Exodus chapter 4, verse 16. It says, this is God speaking to Moses about Aaron. He says, so he shall be your spokesman to the people, and he himself shall be as a mouth for you, and you shall be to him as God. What? Exodus chapter 7, verse 1. So the Lord said to Moses, see, I have made you as God to Pharaoh, and Aaron, your brother, shall be your prophet. Why on earth is Aaron the prophet of Moses and not the prophet of God? That's because God called Moses to represent him, not just to Pharaoh, but to all of his people. And we see this with the golden calf. Right? I don't have the full passage for this, but in the golden calf, we know the story. When Moses goes up to the Mount Sinai, disappears for 40 days. If you read a couple of passages before that, it says the cloud of the presence of God rested on Mount Sinai, and Moses went to the cloud. The people of Israel saw the cloud the entire time on top of the mountain. But when Moses disappeared, they decided to create a golden calf. Why is it when Moses disappeared, and yet they saw God on the mountain with the cloud, with the thunder, with the fire, they said, let us make an image of the God because we don't know where Moses went. Because Moses was God's image and representative to Israel. When Moses disappeared, Israel no longer had an image of God to rely on. And we see this one final time repeated in Numbers chapter 20, verse 12. Then the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, because you did not believe me, to hallow me in the eyes of the children of Israel. Therefore you shall not bring this assembly into the lands which I have given them. Moses lost the promise, or he lost access to the promised land, not because he failed to deliver Israel,